Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the IMMUPHARMA PLC Annual General Meeting proceedings. Throughout this presentation, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Questions can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply click Q&A, type in your question, and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. And these will be available via Investor Meet Company dashboard, and you'll be notified once these are ready for your review. I'd also like to remind you that this presentation is being recorded. I'd now like to hand you over to Tim McCarthy, Non-Executive Chairman of IMMUPHARMA PLC. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Let me say a warm welcome to everybody who's on the webcast this morning. It's a pleasure to address you all, albeit not in person. So let's start the formal business of the morning. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now 10:30 a.m. and I'd like to formally welcome you to the IMMUPHARMA AGM, which is being held via the Investor Meet Company platform. As just introduced, my name is Tim McCarthy and I'm the chairman of the company. Before I carry on, let me just make apologies if I'm constantly looking down. Maybe you'll see in the top of my head, which I'm sure you don't really need to see or want to see. But I have a script with the numbers of the voting, and obviously don't want to get that incorrect. So I will be looking down quite a lot to make sure that I get the right numbers. So please forgive me. So let's start. There are two or more members present in person, so I declare that a quorum is present and accordingly open this annual general meeting. As you're aware, due to the current issues surrounding COVID-19 and the existing public health guidance in the UK, it has only been possible to admit the necessary quorum today on the grounds of safety. This will enable the AGM to take place safely. So under the company's Articles of Association, voting has taken place. And in the interests of shareholder democracy, this has been done by proxy votes. For every proxy vote, or for every share that each shareholder holds, there is one vote. So because of the situation at this meeting, there shall be no requirement for any resolution to be proposed or seconded by any person. So I'll address each resolution in turn, I'll read out the resolution and then give the votes. Overall, resolutions 1 to 4 are ordinary resolutions which to be passed require a majority of 51% vote in favour of each resolution. Resolution 5 is a special resolution which to be passed requires a majority of 75% to vote in favour of that resolution. So turning to the resolutions themselves, Resolution 1 is an ordinary resolution for the company to receive the accounts of the company for the year ending 31st December 2020 with the reports of the directors and auditors of the company. I have received proxy votes in respect of 27,979,197 ordinary shares in favour of Resolution 1 and 20,000 against the resolution. I have received no proxy votes where I have been given discretion to vote. Therefore, Resolution 1 has been passed as an ordinary resolution. Resolution 2 is an ordinary resolution to reappoint Dr. Stefan Merry as the director of the company. I've received proxy votes in respect of 22,040,754 ordinary shares in favour of Resolution 2 and 6,610,683 against the resolution. I have received no proxy votes where I've been given discretion to vote. Therefore, Resolution 2 has been passed as an ordinary resolution. Resolution 3 is an ordinary resolution to reappoint Nexia Smith & Williamson Audit Limited as the auditors of the company. I have received proxy votes in respect of 28,003,061 ordinary shares in favour of Resolution 3 and 22,348 against the resolution. I have received no proxy votes where I've been given discretion to vote. Resolution 3, therefore, has been passed as an ordinary resolution. Resolution 4 is an ordinary resolution authorising the directors to allot relevant securities up to an aggregate nominal amount of £10,008,852. I have received proxy votes in respect of 27,762,710 ordinary shares in favour of Resolution 4 and 48,844 against the resolution. I have received no proxy votes where I've been given discretion to vote. Resolution 4 has therefore been passed as an ordinary resolution. Resolution 5 is a special resolution empowering the directors to allot equity securities pursuant to the authority conferred on them by the previous resolution, as if the pre-emption rights in Section 561 of the Companies Act 2006 did not apply, provided that this power is limited to the allotment of equity securities set out in the notice. I have received proxy votes in respect of 27,759,210 ordinary shares in favour of Resolution 5 and 52,344 against the resolution. I have received no proxy votes where I've been given discretion to vote. Resolution 5 has therefore been passed as a special resolution. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal business of the AGM. And I'm going to hand back to Paul just for a moment before we go to Q&A, but perhaps I should also take the time out to introduce two other people who are here with me on the call today. I think on camera you can probably see Dr. Tim Franklin, who's our Chief Operating Officer, and hopefully our Chief Executive Officer, Dimitri, will also be online. I'm not sure if you can hear me, Dimitri, but I think we may only get his voice as opposed to a video due to connection issues. But the three of us will be looking at questions that have come in and answering accordingly. But before we do that, I'll hand back to Paul.
Tim, thank you very much indeed for that presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, do please continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated in the top right-hand corner of your screen. I would also like to remind you that your feedback is important to the company, and immediately after the presentation has ended, you'll be redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the company can better understand your views and expectations. Tim, attendees were given the opportunity to pre-submit questions, which we've had several come through. Perhaps if I could just hand back to you to run through those pre-submitted questions, and any questions we have through the live event, if you could just perhaps click on that Q&A tab and read out where appropriate to do so, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we have had a number of pre-submitted questions, which we're going to answer between us all. The first question was a general question about how does Loopsor work, and it's obviously a complicated scientific question. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Dimitri if he can pick up the answer to this question.
Thank you, Tim, and hello everyone from me too. So I will try to provide a kind of a summary, an explanation in a non-very scientific way so that people can understand it. I understand that not everybody is scientifically kind of aware or qualified. So to make it simply and to answer the question, we should consider the fact that Loopsor is being developed to treat diseases of the immune system. So they are called autoimmune diseases. They're called autoimmune because the immune system attacks our own cells. The way in which it acts is connected to numerous autoimmune diseases. In the first instance, we have chosen to study Loopsor in the treatment of lupus, which I think many know that it's a very debilitating and often fatal disease. However, the hypothesis is that by demonstrating that Loopsor successfully treats lupus, it should also treat all other or many other autoimmune diseases due to the way that it interacts with the body's immune system, what is known as its mechanism of action. So this has been supported by numerous animal model experiments in order to in other related autoimmune diseases. And the other thing to add is that the immune system is made up of many different types of cells throughout the body, and it is able to recognize foreign invaders and destroy them by producing antibodies, for example, and also other chemical molecules. So sometimes, though, the immune system mistakenly recognizes some fragments from its own cells as foreign objects, and that creates antibodies against itself. And that's why these antibodies are referred to as autoantibodies. Like you have an autoimmune disease, these are antibodies against the self, so the autoantibodies. So these results in autoimmune diseases like lupus, which is not the only one in the autoimmune space, where you effectively have the immune system attacking one's own body. To address this, Loopsor's mechanism of action is as an immune modulating drug. That's quite important as opposed to an immune suppressor drug, which means less propensity for side effects caused by lower immune system defense. So the mechanism of action for Lupuzor is very elegant and does not block the immune system, which is important, as our immune system is needed to protect us from attack from various pathogens. So we are all constantly in contact with bacteria and viruses, but a healthy immune system can fight them before they can cause harm. So products that block the immune system will have side effects, for example, like increased infections. So the mechanism of action of Lupuzor is quite unique, and as far as we know, no other drug for autoimmune diseases has the same mechanism, including those used for lupus. None of them work in the same way. And all the clinical trials on Lupuzor up to date have demonstrated no side effect problems. So the drug is very safe. So as a kind of a slightly more scientific way of explaining it, Lupuzor acts to calm any hyperreactive immune response, which is typical of autoimmune diseases. So Lupuzor acts on a natural process, which is called autophagy. And autophagy means the recycling of cell fragments, because when cells die, they get recycled, all the components. And in autoimmunity, autophagy goes out of balance. So Lupuzor effectively corrects this by soothing the hyperactive cells to a normal condition.
Okay.
I hope that's clear enough.
No, it's very clear. Thank you very much. I'm sure that will help a great deal. The next question I'm going to ask Tim Franklin if he can respond to. And again, several questions on this. To summarize the question or questions, it's very much, can we update everybody on the situation with Lupuzor? So having had the explanation from Dimitri on the scientific rationale, it's now very much about the commercialization side of this and the late stage development. So I'm going to ask Tim if you can answer that for us. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Tim. So, as you all know, Lupuzor is in the final stages of development, clinical development. It's about to enter the second phase 3 clinical trial. Now, the second enhanced trial has been conducted by our US partner, Avion Pharmaceuticals. Last week, we put out an update to say that Avion are expecting the written response from the FDA around the end of July. On the proposed design of the pharmacokinetic study, which the FDA has requested as part of the phase 3 development. The phase 3 study is expected to commence later this year. It's also worth remembering the terms of the deal with Avion. We've licensed the US rights to Avion in return for them paying for this next phase 3 and securing milestone payments amounting to $75 million and double-digit percentage royalties on sales, which are tiered, rising to 17%. Avion is responsible for all the commercial activities for selling Lupuzor in the US, and IMMUPHARMA will have no sales and marketing cost itself that it has to pay. All the rest of the world rights are retained by IMMUPHARMA to either sell alone in some countries or to do more corporate deals with other pharma companies in different regions. I think that's probably all we can say at the moment.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Tim. So we've had a number of questions come in also, whilst we've been here on the webcast about the pace of updates and the pace of other developments in the company other than Lupuzor. And what I'd just like to say to that is that, as we move forward in the next period, we do expect that we will be updating the market on other product developments from the company. And hopefully shareholders will see a regular news flow on all of that coming out, as opposed to it being focused on Lupuzor. The last set of questions which I'm going to address, and again, we've had a number of questions of a similar type that have come in pre the meeting. I'm going to term it board composition leadership of the company, because as you'll all be aware, today marks the retirement of the co-founder of IMMUPHARMA, Dr. Robert Zimmer, and we wish him all the best for the future. But clearly it has raised some questions about the leadership of the scientific group, and also what are we doing going forward post Dr. Zimmer's retirement. So we're fully aware that we need to put some new leadership in place of Dr. Zimmer from the scientific perspective. We're also very aware that now Lupusor has moved into its late stage development, and we're more focused now on its commercialization with Avion and obviously for the rest of the world. That we need to bring on a number of the other product developments which we've talked about in corporate updates over the last couple of years or so. And bearing all that in mind, we're looking at the leadership of, let's say, the scientific group. We're also looking at the skills and experience that we're going to need across the company, including at board level, in order to put that new strategy in place and to bring on a number of new product developments other than just Lupusor. That's about all I can say, I think, at the moment, but I just wanted to send the message out to you all that it is something we're closely looking at, and we will be updating you all as soon as we've made the decisions, and you'll get a full update on all of that as soon as we can. Thank you. So I think I've answered all the questions that came before. I'm just going to have a quick look, see if there's anything I've missed while I've been talking on the Q&A. So if you give me a moment while I just run down the Q&A. Okay, so there are a couple of questions about Lupusor in the phase 3 and Avion. Let me just reiterate, and I think Tim also touched on this. We have a fantastic supportive partner with Avion. They are fully committed to bringing Lupusor to market in the US, and we are equally committed to assisting them in any way that we need to, and then expanding that reach out from the US. So there's absolutely no misunderstandings. We're committed, they're committed. Our target is to get the phase 3 started before the end of this year. We actually see no reasons why it shouldn't. We don't see any hurdles. We're actually going through a process with FDA at the moment, which is a process. We have to go through it. It's regulatory, but it shouldn't send any negative signals to anybody at all. Quite the opposite. We're getting really, really good feedback from FDA and very, very supportive meetings that we're having. So I hope, if anything, I can alleviate people's concerns on that. We're very excited about Lupusor going forward, but as I just said, we're equally excited about some of the other product developments which are coming through as well, which again, I will just reiterate that we will update the market as soon as we can on that. So forgive me if I look at the Q&A again. Somebody's asking about the cash burn rate. We're very well funded. And let's not forget that Avion are paying for all the phase 3 costs. And if you look at some of the financial results for the last 2 or 3 years, clearly they reflected the fact that we were directly paying for the first phase 3. So we don't have any of those costs going forward. We did a fundraising last year, as I'm sure most of you will be aware. So we're in pretty good shape financially. So no worries on cash burn. And can I see anything else? Somebody's asking, if phase 3 starts this year, when is it likely to complete? That's always a difficult one to pin down dates, but just to remind you, the phase 3 program for Lupusor is a 12-month dosing period for patients. So one has to account for the recruitment period, obviously how quickly the recruitment occurs, and then in terms of, so the start date is when the first patient is recruited. Or sorry, we've got I wouldn't say the start date, but we obviously prepare and appoint sites and all of that before the first patient is dosed. But in terms of when the likely finish could be, you have to take the last patient recruited in that recruitment process, and then count 12 months from there, because all patients have a 12-month exposure to the drug. So in overall terms, that's likely to be around a 2-year time frame from the time you start recruitment to when the last patient comes out. And I say that, please don't pin me down on those timings, because that's just an approximation. A lot of it does depend on the recruitment rate. So that will give you an idea. It's not going to be 6 months, it's not going to be 5 years, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. But I think you can probably take some guidance from the first phase 3. We're not expecting it to be much different in terms of length of time than that one. Got any more? I think I've covered everything that's on the Q&A. I'm just working through it now. Forgive me if I haven't answered any, but I think I have. But if there's any that we see later on that we feel we haven't answered, or if there's any more questions coming afterwards, then clearly we'll post some answers up on the website.
Tim, Dimitri, Dr. Franking, thank you very much. I think you have addressed those questions you can, and as you said, Tim, you will have the opportunity to review all questions submitted today, and we will publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. Tim, perhaps I could just hand back to you just to wrap up before we redirect the attendees to give you some feedback, if possible.
Yes, of course, thank you. Firstly, let me thank you all for attending the AGM today. It's unfortunate that we have to do it via this medium, but it's the same for all companies at the moment, unfortunately. And let's just wish and hope that the situation in the UK continues to improve in terms of COVID, and this time next year we're all able to meet in person, and we would absolutely be delighted to welcome you to a venue where we can see you face to face and talk to you and answer your questions on the day as well. But thank you for all your questions. I hope we've addressed them sufficiently. And as I say, if there's any more, we will respond via the website. But let me emphasize that we are always here. I think most of you have got our contact details, including Lisa Badaroon, our head of communications, who I know a lot of you speak to on a regular basis. But please keep in contact with us. We want to make this an interactive company with yourselves as our shareholders, and we're always open to your questions, your queries, or your suggestions, or anything else. So once again, thank you very much for your time this morning, and look forward to seeing you all next year in person, hopefully. Okay, thank you.
Tim, Dimitri, Dr. Franking, thank you very much for updating attendees today. Could I please ask attendees not to close the session, as you'll be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments and will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of IMMUPHARMA PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's proceedings. That concludes today's session. Thank you and good morning.